This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Nashville, Tennessee is our hometown, and we're expecting snow in the next few days, and it's got everybody excited. Not necessarily happily excited, but just the excitement that comes with an approaching front that may shut down the city.
Oh, bring it on. I got bread. I got 3 kinds of bread. I got whole milk. I got chocolate milk. Mattos family is hunkered down. We are ready to go. Or bunkered down as well. However we want to be, that's how we are.
You got mayonnaise?
I don't like mayonnaise.
Really?
Yeah, I have Miracle Whip, which I know is not appropriate. Renee likes mayonnaise. Yeah, we have mayonnaise. Yeah, I don't use it, but we have mayonnaise.
Man got mayonnaise. He got bread. He got all he needs.
Yeah, maybe a tomato.
Oh, that'd be good.
Nice tomato sandwich. Yeah, there you go.
Got bacon? We'll have us a BLT.
There we go. There it is.
In the midst of all this. And as striking as Charlie and I are this morning, it's obvious Kelly Sutton is missing. But to increase the handsome factor exponentially,
right?
Sam Bush, Grammy Award winner, will be appearing here in just a little bit, ladies. So please hang on.
Well, our hip factor went up for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Andy Nye is our studio director. Jeff Roberts, rock solid, is up there in master control here from the Acuff House studio. It's our new studio home, and it sits here at the entrance to the Grand Ole Opry House, the Opry Plaza. And complete with an interactive behind the airwaves WSM historical museum that you can be a part of. You get it as a part of your tour of the Grand Ole Opry. But Sam has got a gig. He's playing the Ryman on Thursday night. We just played the Ryman to celebrate Opry 100. Excited to get some great memories from his incredible career. And then a little later on, the War and Treaty. They're doing 3 nights. Talk about a roll. 16, 17, 18 of January, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We have tickets throughout the week for the Saturday show, but the War and Treaty with the Nashville Symphony.
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
I told you Sam Bush was coming to see us on his way to the Ryman Auditorium Thursday night, and I let him set that lineup. It's an incredible cast. But the last time we saw Sam here at the Acuff House, it was the first time you'd been in here. You and your wife, Lynn, were on the way to the wedding of Bronwyn Keith Hines and Jason Carter at the Opry House. We looked up, and Sam had on his church clothes like it was his Sunday to preach, and we didn't know what was going on. But welcome back to Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Yeah, that was our first 8:30 a.m. wedding.
Yeah, I've never done one of those either, to be honest with
first,
you. Yeah.
And by golly, it was wonderful. It was really great. And yes, as we were strolling, it was on stage at the Opry House, and so as we were strolling by, I went, "Oh, look, there's Bill and Charlie." So this is where you do this.
We had just moved to the Acuff House, which I'm curious. Had you spent any time with Mr. Acuff here at the house?
I never came in the house. My father did for sure. They were
Charlie.
Pals. Charlie was very good pals with, especially brother Oswald was pals. But was he and Mr. Acuff were friends too. So
how did your dad know them?
Well, it all started when I was just a lad, and we came down. My father and I. It's funny looking all around the studio. I'm seeing pictures of everyone that I've sort of had something to do with. Jerry Rivers, the fiddler for Hank Williams, was in a trio called the Homesteaders at that time, well after Hank Williams. And they used to come up to Bowling Green and play on TV stations. So my father always befriended the fiddlers. And so Jerry Rivers became a friend of my dad's and invited us to come down to the Opry, and we could get backstage, and he'd make sure Mr. Bell let us in backstage. So we came down early that day so that we could go to the Roy Acuff Museum and exhibit that was between 4th and 5th then on Broadway. So we go, and we walk in the front door, and lo and behold, bashful brother Oswald is taking admission. So he and my dad got to talking, and Oswald and my dad were friends, till Oz died. And so right there, they were hitting it off, and my father's, bragging about his boy that plays the fiddle, and I'm sitting there embarrassed. And so Oswald went in the back. We're still standing in the front door at the admission desk, and Oz goes in the back, gets a fiddle and a bow, and brings it out, and I play one. And Oz didn't say anything, and he just got on the phone and dialed it up, and it was about 4 in the afternoon probably, and he said, "Roy, better get down here. We got a boy that can fiddle." And so Within 45 minutes, probably Mr. Acuff was there, and lo and behold, there's Roy Acuff. So that night, we're backstage at the Opry. We get, it was the first time I ever heard Bill Monroe play on stage. Being from Bowling Green, I'd seen him on TV, of course. And that was that backstage that night. I met Bill's young guitar player, a guy named Peter Rowan, and so met Pete that very night.
Pete Roans.
Actually, yeah, Pete Rowans. Pete's your name now. And but anyhow, and then later that night, Mr. Acuff and the Smoky Mountain Boys were on the Ernest Tubb Record Shop, and I got to play a tune on the Ernest Tubb Record Shop that night. So it was a pretty magical day then.
There's a great picture of the groundbreaking of Opryland USA with Bashful Brother Oswald and a team of mules. That's what they used to break ground here.
Wow.
And it's either in this building, I've seen it recently somewhere in the archive.
Huh. So would you literally walk from the Ryman and just go across the street to the record shop? I mean, would people just see Bill Monroe walking across the street, or do you think they drove?
I guess so. And back then, at the old Ryman, Mr. Acuff, I guess because he basically owned the block between 4th and 5th on Broadway, the way I understand it.
Yeah.
His dressing room was kind of in the back of the Showbud guitar store, and so Roy could literally pull his car into this garage, walk in a door, and there was their own dressing room. And Acuff's dressing room, it was a running fiddle jam session. That's what happened between their performances. And there'd be all these fiddlers in there. And so, of course, I got to meet the great Howdy Forrester that night, who just scared the heck out of me. And so and fiddle jam would keep going until all of a sudden, I guess Roy would look at his watch and go, "Okay, boys," and they'd all of a sudden, bang, snap to attention. Everybody's got their instruments on, and they would run a portion of the song they were going to go out and play, and then literally walk across the alley and then into the back door of the Ryman, where that's where I realized, all the other performers don't have their own private dressing room like Roy Acuff does.
I always heard that Ernest Tubb, when he would leave the Ryman and head down to the Midnight Jamboree on Broadway, that he would hand out quarters to kids along the way.
Oh, I love that.
Walk down the street because they'd still be lined up around there, trying to get in.
And so we that started a tradition of my father and I coming down many a Friday or Saturday night to get in on the fiddle jam with Mr. Acuff's boys, Charlie Collins and Larry McNeely.
Well, that story is so reminiscent of one Ricky Skaggs talks about his dad saying, "Here's my boy Ricky. Ricky plays something for the boy."
Yeah. Hobart Skaggs.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, set us up, and then we're going to feature music. We're going to take them back in time, 2003. You and Dave Dog Grisman. Hold on, we're strumming. Hartford's real. But you mentioned Peter Rowan, Peter, and Sam Grisman.
Yes, so we'll be
Sam Grisman Project.
The Sam Grisman Project, and of course I've known Sam Grisman since he was just a little toddler, and even for me to call David and go, "Well, thank you for naming your son after me." And David said, "I hate to burst your bubble, but he is Samson after my dad." So Samson Grisman, and anyhow, so we're all, and so Peter and Samson collaborate on these shows sometimes with Sam's band, Sam Grisman Project, and so this one be featuring some of the tunes, many of the tunes that Old and In the Way recorded back when David Grisman was in the band with Peter Rowan, Jerry Garcia, and Vassar Clements. And so
I remember it. They just did one album, didn't they?
There was one. I think more have come out later on,
like lost tapes kind of thing.
Yeah, more tapes.
Okay.
And to set this up, David Grisman and I met David in '65 at the Roanoke Bluegrass Festival. So he was 20 and I was 13 back then. And so David and I became mandolin friends, and we still are, always have been. I love David Grisman. And so we decided to make a record together, and with the plan that we would write the tunes and record them, So basically we'd make up a tune and record it that day to the mandolins. And so one of the tunes, and at the time John Hartford was really on our mind. It was a couple of years before John passed away, so we were real loving on John Hartford, and Dave and I wrote a tune in honor of John, and called Hartford's Real. But the way David Grisman thinks, he goes, "Yeah, man, but let's spell it R-E-A-L." instead of R-E-E-L like an old fiddle tune. Because he said, hey, man, Hartford's real. And, of course, we all loved John. So, and anyhow, we would get together. Probably did it in about 2 or 3 sections where I'd go out to California and play with David in his studio in Petaluma and Dog Studios. And so Sam Grissman was just learning to play the bass. And this is the first album that Sam appeared on was with his dad.
Oh, no kid, 2003.
Yep, so that's kind of a neat tie-in. And, of course, here we are, come to the Ryman, and I'm so proud of Sam Grissman, and he's doing really well.
That's his Thursday night with Sam Bush this morning on Coffee, Country, and Cody.
This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
And this is Sam Bush, our special guest, playing the Ryman this Thursday night with Peter Rowan and Sam Grimson. That's a Samson Grissman Project band. And you've got, I saw Tim O'Brien and Jerry Douglas. Run your list over there.
Well, I've got, Tim O'Brien, Ronnie and Rob McCurry will be there, Jerry Douglas, Lindsay Lou, Phoebe Hunt, Gillian Welch and Dave Rawlings.
I see Logan Ledger's name.
I haven't.
Okay, I saw it on the website.
Oh, okay. Hey, there could be more added because I mean it's been growing ever since. Tim and I were the first to commit. Tim O'Brien and I did the list to keep some. So it's going to be a cast of hundreds on stage at the Ryman for sure.
Tell me what you remember about Emmylou Harris and the Nash Ramblers and that concert to save the Ryman Auditorium, that very first concert.
Well, it was so.
And who was in the Nash Ramblers at that time?
In the Nash Ramblers, Emmy started the band in 1990. She was looking for a way to sort of bring the volume down on stage. She had played with the Hot Band for years, and it was loud country rock instruments. She just wanted to sing over a softer situation, so she started an acoustic band. People called us bluegrass. It wasn't a bluegrass band. For me, it was an acoustic country group. I mean, I thought that's exactly what it was, country music with acoustic instruments. So it was Roy Husky on bass, John Randall Stewart on guitar, Al Perkins on the dobro, Larry Atomanyuk, say that 4 times, Larry Atomanyuk on drums, and I played mandolin and fiddle. And John Randall and I did the basic part of the harmony singing, and Al Perkins and I would switch off on who sang the baritone part, depending on if I was playing fiddle or mandolin, probably. And so we had done, she started the group in 1990. We played for that year on the road, and then probably somewhere in early 91, Emmy calls me and says, I want to make we're sounding really good. I think we're going to make a live album. I said, great, man, we're rough and ready. Let's do it. She would like to do all new songs, and I said, great, let's do that. And like to do it at the Ryman. And I said, I'm under the understanding the building's been condemned. And she goes, well, then we really got to do it there. So she, of course, she was not a ranking officer, but, big. She was in the CMA and very influential. So we did end up getting to do it at the Ryman. And yes, I think not more maybe than 250 people were allowed, maybe 300 people, tops. There were holes in the floors. You could literally look through the roof and see stars. And so there was only one working bathroom now. And, of course, this is the old Ryman Auditorium where you used to enter on Fifth. And way before the Ryman we know now with all its rebuilt and modern conveniences. And so for 3 nights in a row, we would play our show. We felt like we were in show business, because as soon as we'd get done that night, you change back into your street clothes, give your picking clothes to somebody who, boom, had them all cleaned back the next day. So you're wearing the same thing for 3 days in a row because it was a taping for TNN, I guess, back then. And Emmy had Bill Monroe. She was buck dancing a lot back then. And so they asked Bill Monroe if he'd come out and dance with Emmylou. And so he did. And it was great. We were in the back.
There's some wonderful pictures, video of that.
And he loved to dance with Emmy. And so we were backstage, and yep, you're fixing your hair. My hair was pretty long, and Bill Monroe comes in, and he looked down at me. I mean, we knew each other, and I later found out that if he liked you, he was going to butt you around somewhat. So he was starting to actually like me at this point. And he looked down. He just went, "Shh, I've got some scissors if you need them."
Oh, that is great. That is so great.
Did he not tell you once when you were wearing sandals that was no shoe for a man?
Actually said it to Peter Rowan.
Oh, is it?
Pete, that is not a man's shoe.
So even in a state of disrepair and almost being ready to be torn down,
Yes.
was there still something magical about being on that stage? Or
Absolutely,
What? Yeah.
absolutely. Especially for me, because I've been getting to go since I was a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Roy Husky grew up on that stage, coming to the Opry with his father, playing bass on the stage. And yes, in Emmy Lou's words, we're going to shake off the hillbilly dust off this room tonight, and in the sound of the record, the sound of music in the Ryman Auditorium is very much a part of the way that record sounds. And so as the Grammy Awards, and it's different than CMA voting, and so Emmylou Harris and the Nash Ramblers won the Grammy that year for the country vocal group. And so with that bit of recognition, she raised the bill because it was called Live at the Ryman. And so I believe that Emmylou Harris saved the Ryman Auditorium with that record.
I believe you're right. And we were there on Friday night to kick off Opry 100 as we rolled into 2025 and to count down to this fall when WSM and the Grand Ole Opry reached the centennial.
Boy, aren't we glad the Ryman's still standing in the sea of tall buildings downtown.
As you look out at the entrance to the Opry House, I mean, it's 50 years old. We've been here longer than we were ever at the Ryman. So.
Yeah, yes, isn't that amazing? And looking here in your studios with all the great photos around that we get to look at here, there's that great shot Jim McGuire took of the Ryman Auditorium back when the tornadoes were hitting in 74, spring of 74. And he's got the iconic shot of lightning striking all around the Ryman. And it's interesting that later McGuire gave a copy of that photo to Roy Acuff, who later gave a copy of that photo to my dad. And now that photo's in my house. And Newgrass Revival got to use that photo of the Ryman with the lightning striking all around in our album package of a record called When the Storm Is Over. Wow. It was a great shot by Jim McGuire.
And as you're about to play, you're seated on wood from the early 1950s Ryman Auditorium, the same wood as the circle at the Opry House. So we've come full circle.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you put, but for me, it's a square like me. I'm here.
Well,
right?
we're trying to get the rectangle. It's not catching on as big as the circle. So if you could start using that, it would help us.
Radio John, the songs of John Hartford, most recent work from our friend Sam Bush. I don't know, we didn't talk about what you were going to play, what you got in mind to play live for us as well.
Well, I mean, just here we are in the Acuff house,
In the living room.
Yeah, and again, my father used to come over here. I never got to come in the house, and I'd already moved and going around playing music by then. But thinking about Roy Acuff, and when I was 16, we were standing on side stage of the Ryman one Friday night, and all of a sudden my dad appears with my fiddle and bow, and he says, "Roy's going to put you on. What are you going to play?" And you talk about your heart jumping up in your throat, I mean, I'm glad I didn't know before that. So literally 2 minutes later, I walked out on stage and played a fiddle tune with Charlie Collins on guitar. And only Roy Acuff had the power to do that, to say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to sing a song. I'm going to let some kid play, right? and really.
That's right.
And so thinking about the connection and Roy Acuff and getting to be out here in his house.
I'll update you on the top stories in entertainment. Let's start with Tucker Wetmore. Got his first number one, Wind Up Missing You. It's number one on country radio this week. He reached out on social media to thank everybody he's been dreaming of and working toward, and that's a quote, this moment for a long time. That is an earworm so infectious. Congratulations. He was just in to see us not too long ago as he was debuting at the Grand Ole Opry a few hours later. He's from the state of Washington originally and signed with UMG back in 2024 and then released that debut EP soon after. Ringo Starr, country star. Yep, set to release a country album. His country album's coming out on Friday. He's 84, the rock icon. Of course, he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, former member of the Beatles. He's teamed up with T-Bone Burnett. He's the producer on it. 11 tracks. It's called Look Up. Alison Krauss, Billy Strings, Lucius, Molly Tuttle, several members of the Opry staff band played as session musicians on it. The lead single is a thing called Time on My Hand. And Dylan Marlowe, how he found his album title. To God Be the Glory. That's the short version. Yeah, the title of his debut album, Mid-20s Crisis. It was no easy feat.
I was just going through trying to find a title for this record, and I didn't want it to just be like a random title that, you know, is a really forgettable name, and just did a bunch of soul searching and a bunch of praying, and I was like, God, if you can help me find the title of this record, I'll tell everybody that you helped me find the title. And I woke up the next morning after praying that, and that title just literally popped in my head, like really crazy, and happened to just be kind of what I was going through at the time, so it turned out perfect, and yeah, shout out to God for that.
And Dylan's single is called Boys Back Home, is a duet with Dylan Scott, and it's in the top 5 on the country chart, so congrats to both of them. And Post Malone and his generosity is making news. You know, I got to believe sometimes as a superstar, you try to do things and not be recognized for it, and that may have been the case here. But when you give somebody a $20,000 tip, it's going to be hard for them not to tell somebody. And with social media being what it is in our lives, he's being praised. The genre-bending star tipped a Texas bartender $20,000 on Christmas Eve. She's a single mama and had to work that night to make ends meet. She said her name is Renee Brown, that she was going to buy a new car with this $20,000, a new car to her anyway. This is a quote from Music Mayhem. She said she had been without a car for 2 years. So I don't know if she was taking public transportation or hitching a ride or what she was doing. But $20,000 later, that tip on Christmas Eve from Post Malone will provide her transportation. Back to wrap it up after this.
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
They just celebrated a decade as the War and Treaty. Michael and Tanya, the Trotters, are here. You believe it? 2014, calendar flipped, it's 2015, but you've completed a decade.
Oh, my goodness. You make me feel so young.
You make me feel so young.
Yeah.
Do I make you feel like spring has sprung?
Yeah, you make me feel like spring is sprung.
And what is your life that with all you've accomplished and all the things that you have done and appearances you have made, you're working with the Nashville Symphony 3 nights in a row, middle of the month, 16th, 17th, and 18th.
I am about to cry. I mean, just thinking about it. You know, to be honest, I haven't actually taken it all the way in that it's happening. My dream was to be an opera singer when I was growing up because my mom sang opera music. You know, she was an opera singer. And so I heard arias in the house and things like that. And to be able to go to college and get a vocal scholarship and do the things that I did with our symphony at home in Maryland, but to do this with my husband and with our own music it's mind-blowing. You know, it really brings me to tears to see your dreams coming true, you know, in increments all the time.
And Michael, describe what you shared with us, the experience that people will have when they see you and hear you with the symphony.
Oh, yes. Well, our music, is when people hear our songs, they go, man, I could see that in a film or in a movie or something like that. And so oftentimes we don't see it that way. But when the symphony sent over the mock of what they're trying to do to the songs, it just elevated it to where people in the audience are going to feel like they're sitting right in a movie scene. It's so cinematic. It is so glorious. And I want to say, I've seen many symphonies, but Nashville, the Nashville Symphony, there's just something different. They're different. They operate totally different. They're like on a whole nother playing field. And we went to see them play like all of the Star Wars.
Yeah,
one
that
year.
was one of our first date nights when we moved to Nashville.
Oh, no kidding.
Michael rented a limousine and sent me a dress. You know, it came to the house.
That's why I'm broke now.
And that was one of our first dates.
You ruined it for the rest of us, buddy. I got a two-door Fiat out there. That's
He's
what
Mr. Romance here. Yeah, it was great.
And I read the cutest story about you have varying memories of how the two of you met.
Oh, yeah.
That you say you met him, you saw him performing at a school fundraiser, like a backpack annual event for the start of school. And Michael, you said you saw her in Sister Act 2 and said, I'm going to marry that girl.
That's right.
So who's right?
We both are. That's how you stay married.
She's a diplomat.
I'm a typical Libra diplomat.
You know what? I'm gonna switch it up. I'm actually gonna say who's right in this case. I'm gonna say me.
Oh,
and the reason I'm gonna say me is because I saw her first in both scenarios. I saw her first on the film screen, and then I saw her first at that park in Laurel, Maryland.
I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. That's true. You did see me. If you put it that way, you know.
And the guest that preceded you this morning in the green room, you were talking to Sam Bush. Yeah. What I didn't know is that he played on your first ever Nashville session.
Yes.
And Buddy Miller produced the doggone thing.
Yes.
That is a part of your history I was not aware of.
Well, that was such a cool thing. So the album is called Healing Tide. And it was a beautiful situation because it was our first offering in that. Well, actually, no. Let me go back. It was our first released project we ever did in Nashville. We came here in 2014 and recorded a full-length album with just a cello player, myself, and Tanya.
My feet and tambourine.
Over at Ocean Way Studios.
Oh yeah,
in the main room, right? Never released it. Never did anything with it. And then our second time, in 2018, Buddy Miller. And two things miraculously happened. We started recording on my birthday, which is March 15th. And Emmylou Harris flew in from London, went to her dog kennel, did what she normally does, check on her babies, went home, baked a batch of brownies for me, and brought them to my recording session at Buddy's house.
To celebrate your birthday.
To celebrate the birthday. The other miraculous thing was Buddy said, I got a surprise for you. And he said, y'all going to come and record this last song, which is called Set My Soul on Fire. And Buddy has a house across the street from his home residence, and it was empty. Yeah. It was just a living room. And when we walked in there were microphones, hanging mics, and there was Sam Bush and I want to say Colin, I forget Colin's last name.
Lyndon. Yeah, guitar player.
Yes.
Great slide guitar player.
Those two were just standing there. And that's when we met Sam Bush. Yeah. And both guys, first off, it was just the two instruments, Tanya's beautiful tambourine and my fat foot just stomping. And man, I knew right then and there we were in the midst of royalty. Yeah. Both gentlemen were just so classy and so poised and so kind. But Sam Bush in particularly, when he would see us, it always felt like we were in the presence of a history lesson. Yeah. Always. He's a beautiful, beautiful human being.
Now, he draws you in.
Oh, yeah.
And you feel as though you've lived it.
Oh, yeah. The stories. Yeah. I just like to have him tell the stories.
And the great thing is he did live it.
He lived it,
And he's a part of what made me and Tanya feel very welcomed here in Nashville. Yeah. He's a part of our story.
How did you meet Buddy Miller?
Well, so and we were, and this was November the 9th, 2016. We were in Tampa, Florida, Tanya and I. We had just got done. This was when President Trump got elected the first time. And we did a concert, and we were driving up the strip, and we got a phone call from a radio personality in Detroit named Ann DeLisi. And Ann says, she has an NPR show. She says, hey, Michael, you need to answer your phone, man. Don Was is calling you. And I was like, Don Was? Like, what do you mean? And so Don Was had heard a song that we had put out. By the way, that song is what we recorded at Ocean Way. It's called Hi Ho.
Michael didn't want it released, so I snuck it to Ann DeLisi via Twitter in her account. Baby. And that's another story.
Well, Don Was wanted to work with us. He wanted to produce our album, and he listened to 50 songs of ours in that radio station. He shut it down. We went in there, and after he looked at his schedule and after he realized how enormous the feat was, he decided to pass us over to Buddy Miller.
Yeah.
And we didn't know who Buddy Miller was, but his manager, Kathy, sent us an email and said, hey, Buddy Miller is looking for you. And whenever someone does that with no introduction, we don't know Kathy.
What do we do?
She just sends us an email, not know, hi, this is Kathy. No, she says, hi, Buddy Miller's looking for you. And I'm like, well, he must be someone that we definitely need to know.
Yeah.
And she was absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that's how we connected with the great Buddy Miller.
Yeah.
Well, your new single, Carried Away, is on a brand new album that comes out on Hello, Sweethearts, Valentine's Day for the War and Treaty, and my granddaughter's 8th birthday. I have a granddaughter.
Happy birthday,
Lily
baby,
Ruth
early.
will be 8 on Valentine's Day, and your new album comes
Love
out.
baby.
It's called Plus One, Carried Away.
From WSM Radio, this is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
The War and Treaty. They are in the house, literally, in the A-Cup House living room this morning. Michael and Tanya Trotter, Grammy CMA nominees. You heard Carried Away with a new album that comes out on Valentine's Day. It's called Plus One. And the 16th, 17th, 18th of January, Thursday, Friday, Saturday here in Nashville, Schermerhorn Symphony Center with the symphony.
I have to ask, it was just a couple of weeks ago, you were on CBS television at the White House. What was the White House experience like?
It was amazing. We actually had an opportunity last year to be there about 5 or 6 times. I
Oh,
believe.
wow.
Yeah, so we've done some veteran events there, and but to be there for Christmas and to celebrate, the lighting of the tree and to just see how White House at Christmas, I'd never experienced that before. It was absolutely stunning. It was beautiful to be there, and frigid. It was so cold. I couldn't believe how cold it was. And I'm from Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, my God. My teeth are cold. It was so cold.
So what'd you do for the holidays? What's Thanksgiving, Christmas like for the two of you?
We were home.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, honey.
Where were we
So
Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving, we did the Macy's Day
That's
parade.
right. I forgot. It's all a blur now.
So we were doing the Macy's Day on that float, and it was raining and cold. And we sang a song, a Christmas song, I believe.
Yeah.
And then we flew home, right back to Nashville. And then for Christmas, we were just sitting down, eating with our parents in the living room and watching TV, just chilling out.
That's it. We did a lot of sleeping.
So where are your families these days? Any of them here? Or you
Yeah,
guys are-
my dad and ma, they live, so we built a little house for them out back in our yard.
Yeah.
And so they live out back there.
Yeah.
And, yep.
And my family's in Washington, D.C. They're from North Carolina, but my dad is. And my mom was from Panama. She's no longer with us. But they all live up north.
Oh, wow. One of my coolest moments at the Opry was you guys at center stage, and Michael, you bring your mom out.
Yes.
And you do a gospel song. Now, that's cool enough to begin with.
Yeah.
But in back of me are Emmylou Harris and Rodney Crowell singing the harmonies to everything you guys are singing.
I love
It
that
was
so
like
much.
the best surround sound on the planet right there.
Yeah. Emmylou Harris was our first feature
Yeah.
on that same record that Sam Bush is on. We have a song together that we do called Here's Where the Lovin' Is At.
Yes.
And Emmylou Harris, she's the fairy godmother. We love her so much.
Yes, she is.
And you've told me that before
Yeah.
because at that night. And
Yep.
So to know that her and Rodney were singing, that just warms my heart.
Yeah.
And Mommy just really, it's just a bright.
She's a
spot.
singer. When she opens up her mouth, it's just, and she's so oblivious as what's happening. She's like, why are these people yelling and what's going on? I'm like, it's
She's
you.
just a church girl. Just a church girl from Cleveland,
I love
Ohio.
it so much.
So who do you meet when you first get to town? Are you quickly accepted in the music community when you come here 10 years ago?
Who do
Who
we
do we
meet
meet
first?
first?
Among the folks you met.
Among the folks, yes. So Buddy Miller, the McCrary sisters, and Emmylou Harris. That was like one cluster. But I believe I like to make mention of a gentleman by the name of Peter Cooper.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
We miss him to this day. Yeah.
Peter Cooper, Peter Cooper is...
And for people who don't know, longtime columnist with the Tennessean,
Yeah.
who
Yes.
then made the move to the Country Music Hall of Fame
Yes.
Museum.
Yeah.
Well, he's the reason why we're in country music. It was Peter who came up with the idea. Him and our management at the time in 2018, the Country Music Hall of Fame was inducting the late great Dottie West.
Yes.
And they just thought it'd be cool to have Tanya and I come and sing Lesson in Leaving.
Yeah.
And from there, the rest of the relationships. I mean, that night we met Dierks Bentley.
Mm-hmm.
We met Chris Stapleton.
Yeah.
We met Garth and Trisha. We met the great Ricky Skaggs. Brenda Lee.
Yeah,
I
Brenda
mean,
Lee,
we
yeah.
met so many of the great pillars that Nashville stands on. And that's when we realized, man, this feels like home for us. And we're accepted like that. Kept Mo, just so many different artists, you know. So yes, I know a lot of people, they have their journeys and they have their stories in Nashville, and people say the 10-year itch and all that stuff. We're not paying attention to any of that. The realities are we've met great people and we hold on to their hands, and we're grateful for it.
Yeah.
On your symphony night, how many pieces in the symphony that back you? Do you have any idea?
We haven't had our first rehearsal yet to
Oh,
know,
okay.
but I believe it's
the full
the
thing.
full thing. Yeah.
So how many is that, Charlie? You have any idea?
Oh, I don't know. There's a bunch of them. I mean, the Skirmahorn stage is huge.
It's huge,
So,
yeah.
but this is not the kind of gig you can wing it, though.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, my
You
word.
want to know the notes.
Yeah.
I'm so nervous.
Yeah, I have heard. I think it was Riders in the Sky who once, Too Slim said,
Yep.
the symphony in back of you literally lifts you off the ground.
Yeah.
It is that powerful.
Oh yeah. It's amazing.
Well, the new album, Plus One, comes out on Valentine's Day, February 14th, and we're going to close with a song called Called You By Your Name. Set it up. That's where we'll wrap it up. Congratulations on everything that's
Thank
happened.
you.
And especially this upcoming
So
symphony
good to
run.
see you both too.
You too. You as well. So the backstory on
I
You
was
By
just
Your
telling this to Sam Bush. So this song is a very intentional song. It's combining three different styles, American styles. One of the styles is bluegrass. Another style is in the Black Gospel Church called the shout music. And then you have a lot of New Orleans influence with the horn. And we just wanted to just show us how we're all united and how we're all one and the same. So there it is, Called You By Your Name. Oh, and for people who don't want to know, it's also a scripture where Isaiah 43, where God says, I called you by your name because you are mine.
Oh, I love that. Well, let me do your marketing for you real quick too. You can pre-order the new CD
Yes.
and the 2 LP set autographed as well.
That's
so
right.
do
That's
that
right.
before Valentine's.
Yes.
Yes.
Be a great gift.
That's right.
the Warren Treaty. Happy New Year.